Hi everybody, welcome back to Lotus of the Coast. I'm Mark, and today we'll be discussing our first deck tech for Jank Tank, a new series I'm very excited to produce about a more janky deck type. And today we'll be discussing 5 color ideal shrines for Modern. Now this deck is going to be a little bit more janky than the rest, as the title depicts. However, just bear with me, you should have a lot of fun with it. So the goal of our deck is to make use of a lot of the new shrines from Core 2021 that have a lot of synergies together, and together can make a big combo win for us, in a similar style to the Ad Nauseam Modern deck. So let's move on to the deck tech itself. First, we're going to be discussing our mana fixers and producers, in which we'll be playing a playset of Lotus Bloom, Arcum's Astrolabe, and Pentaprism. Arcum's Astrolabe is going to be very important to our deck because, as we're playing a 5-color deck, we're going to want to be able to cast a lot of the shrines we're playing, even though we're playing more of an Esper base build. And with that mana fixing from our Snow basics, it's going to make it really easy to cast them if we're in a pinch. Then, if we move on to Lotus Bloom and Pentaprism, because we're going to want to ramp into some bigger spells, Lotus Bloom will be able to play on turn 2 or turn 1 and have it come down to produce 3 mana instantly as sacrifice, and then Pentaprism we can play on turn 2 for 2 mana with Sunburst that we can sacrifice later to play our big spell. Then, after that, let's move on to our key enchantments. Now, the 3 key enchantments that are going to be necessary to our deck are going to be a playset of Solemnity, a playset of Phyrexian Unlife, and a one-of Greater Auramancy. Now, the combo of Phyrexian Unlife and Solemnity is not used a lot in Modern, however, it is very, very popular in some other janky builds. And how it works is, with Phyrexian Unlife, if we get down to 0 life, we will not die, however, we will take a point of poison damage for every damage we take after that life total. But with Solemnity, we cannot get poison counters, so we essentially cannot lose the game as long as our enchantments are not destroyed. And in order to protect those enchantments, we have the one of Greater Auramancy, which gives our other enchantment Shroud, so that people cannot destroy them without getting around that barrier. Now, let's go on to the shrines themselves. The 6 shrines we'll be playing are a one of Honden of Infinite Rage, 2 Sanctum of Stone Fangs, 1 Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, 1 Honden of Night's Reach, 1 Honden of Seeing Winds, and a 2 of Sanctum of All. A few of these enchantments, or shrines per se, are a little bit just for better mana producing or drawing, such as the Honden of Seeing Winds or the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, and then the Honden of Infinite Rage and our Sanctum of Stone Fangs will allow us to drain the opponent out or deal damage to them with the number of shrines we have, which is our main win con. And then the Honden of Night's Reach is just nice to give them a little bit of discard, in case we go against a deck that has a lot of value, such as Urza. And then the Sanctum of All is very important to our deck because it can tutor up our other shrines, which will allow us to win the game much quicker. Now, let's move on to the most important target of our deck, which is the 3 of Enduring Ideal. Enduring Ideal is a sorcery that was printed quite a few years back was printed in Saviors of Kamigawa. And what this card does is a 5 generic 2 white sorcery for 7 CMC that allows us to search for any enchantment in our library and put it into play. And it has Epic on the card, which means we can't cast spells from the rest of the game once we play the spell. However, we can repeat this process each turn afterwards. So by ramping into this from our mana producers, we can tutor up Sanctum of All or whatever enchantment we need, and then tutor out enchantments from the game, so on and so forth. So we're going to want to get out those key enchantments that we have in the beginning of the game, while also mana ramping, and then play the spell in order to get the win going. Lastly, let's move on to our utility. Our first card of utility is going to be the enchantment Heretic's Punishment, which is an enchantment that, in case we are not able to use all of our shrines, will allow us to make use of a lot of mana that we won't be able to use after Enduring Ideal is cast, and just mill cards over from our library and do damage to our opponent. And with a lot of big CMC cards we have with our Enduring Ideal and Sanctum of All, we should be able to burn out the opponent through this in a pinch as a backup plan. We will also bring 2 of On Thin Ice, which is a snow enchantment for 1 that was printed in Modern Horizons that allows us to exile any target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it's a nice stifling effect we can play early in the game if we need to take out an important creature such as Tarmogoyf. We'll also be playing a 4 of Angel's Grace, which many people will see in the Ad Nauseam deck, which against decks that were going to kill us on the spot, we can play for Split Second, which will allow us to not lose the game that turn, and they will not be able to win the game. So it'll save us in a pinch. And then lastly, we'll be playing a 2 of Serum Visions just to get the ball rolling with that card draw and scrying at the top of our library to find the key cards that we're going to need. Now let's move on to the mana base. We're going to be playing a few fetches in the deck, which are going to be 3 Polluted Delta and 4 Flooded Strand, just to give us that secure mana and also, cut down the deck of our library so we're not drawing into unnecessary lands. Then we're going to play a couple of Shocks with 2 Hallowed Fountains and 1 Watery Grave, as we're an Esper base deck, and allow us to cast our key white enchantments and then our blue and white instants and sorceries. And then we're going to be playing a total of 6 snow basics, 3 of which are snow-covered plains, 2 snow-covered island, and 1 snow-covered swamp, so that we can cast our Arcum's Astrolabes and then our On Thin Ices. And then lastly, we have a few utility lands. We have a 1-of Celestial Colonnade, which is another backup win con in the game where it's late going on. We can activate it with a mana we're not going to be able to use to cast other spells with Epic, and then we can just swing in with that 4/4 in the air. We also have 2 of City of Brass to give us more use of 5-color mana, which we're not going to worry about taking the damage too much with Phyrexian Unlife. And the reason we play City of Brass over Mana Confluence is that when it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to us, whereas Mana Confluence requires you to pay a life in order to add that mana, which you're not able to do if you're at 0 life with Phyrexian Unlife. And then we're playing lastly a 1 Hall of Heliod's Generosity for Modern Horizons, in case for some reason one of the enchantments we have gets destroyed, such as the Greater Oromancy, or one of them gets milled over. We can play it, we can tap into it for 2 mana and put the enchantment card that we need from our graveyard on top of our library. Lastly, let's move on to the sideboard. We play 3 Pact of Negation in order to counter any spells that will try to interrupt our win con or our Phyrexian Unlife, so against control it's going to be really nice for us. We're going to play 2 Damning Sphere for decks like such as Storm or Tron, because it'll stop them from casting so many spells, or it'll shut down their big mana game. We play another 1 Greater Oromancy in the deck in case we're playing against like the Rock or Jund, which will easily be able to blow up our enchantments. 2 Hercule's Recall for those big artifact decks such as Urza. 2 Dead of Winter for big decks like Dredge or Burn that try to go a little bit more wider and have a bunch of creatures. We'll be able to play with our snow basics and kill them all on turn 2 or 3. 4 Leyline of Sanctity for, say, Discard and Burn. It'll be really nice for us. And then we'll play 1 of Surgical Extraction to catch all for Uro or other big graveyard targets that we need to get out of there. That's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoy the first episode of Jank Tank on the channel. We're really excited to continue this different series such as this in the future. Hopefully you can give the video a like if you enjoyed it and hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. Leave a comment below what you thought of the video, and I hope you have a nice day.